You want to do it together? 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Aku. Welcome to the Public Diary. Today we're back with another episode. And before we hop right into it, I just want to thank all of you for all the support you've been showing. It's crazy because I just began this 2 months ago, and I don't know how much of it is organic, how much of it is from my followers, but whatever it's going into, feel really lucky and blessed. Also, my guests for the time and effort that they come in to have a little chit chat with me, and for you guys for spending time just watching and screaming. Yeah, screaming. That's what I hope you'd be doing behind those screens. Today, I'm joined by someone spectacular. She's gonna give you all the inside scoops of what it means to be a biracial person living in Korea. She was born and raised over here, and she's going to give you a completely different take from whatever you've been hearing, because you hear Korean versus foreigners. What does it mean to be both? And she's here to not only share about the biracial experience, living in many different countries as well, but also some wisdom, because everyone on campus calls her mother. So by the end of this episode, you'll be like, yeah, she's giving mother. Everyone, please welcome Sena to the Public Diary. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
I'm so excited.
Well, how are you feeling? Is this your first ever podcast, right?
Yes. I mean, I've been behind a camera a few times in my life, but this is my first ever podcast. So I'm excited. I'm a little nervous, but I'm very excited.
The energy that she came in with just made me more excited to work.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm feeling it.
I'm so excited.
And, I just want to hop right into our first segment. Mm-hmm. And I titled it, Are You Korean or Danish Enough?
Perfect.
So if you want to just introduce yourself to our guests, feel free.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sena. I'm affectionately referred to as Serenity, and I am a 22-year-old Korean-Danish individual who, like Aku said, grew up in South Korea.
Okay. And you're from Busan, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so you grew up in Busan from a very young age.
Yeah.
Okay. Growing up in Busan but looking foreign, how did that play out?
Well, I had like a weird experience where I grew up in a very touristy part of Busan because I'm from Haeundae, which is like
the most beautiful.
Tourist central. Very beautiful, but also tourist central. And so when people saw me, it was kind of like they just presumed I was also one of the tourists that was there visiting.
Yeah.
So I never had the feeling of like I'm one of the locals, even though, personally I felt like I was one of the locals because that was my whole life. But the way other people saw me, I was just a tourist, a foreigner visiting, which is good and bad because it gives you a lot of like lenience and you can kind of do whatever you want.
Right.
And you have the foreigner card. And people won't, judge you as much, and they'll be like, whatever, she's just a stupid foreigner. But then at the same time, you want a sense of belonging, and I think I didn't have a sense of belonging in my community growing up, and so there were some struggles with that, especially when you're really young and you want to feel like you're a part of something, but your community doesn't accept you in that way. I think that was really rough. Yeah.
And you said you're the youngest of your siblings, right?
Yeah, I only have one older sister.
Okay. That's really nice. So do you feel like you kind of reflected upon her experiences growing up as well?
I think her experience was a little bit different than mine. I tried really hard to fit into certain Korean stereotypes, and I struggled a lot with that, especially in high school, because I got really into K-pop, and I was like, I want to look like one of the K-pop idols, so going on really extreme diets and, debating whether or not I wanted to get plastic surgery, things like that, at a really formative time in my life. Whereas I think my sister was a little bit more confident and defensive, and she was really protective of her identity, and it taught me a lot because, I thought to myself, I should be more like her. But I think she also had some personal struggles that led to her being that way, and I think we both felt distant from the community for different reasons.
Okay.
And she graduated high school my freshman year.
Of high school?
Yes. So starting my sophomore year, she was in college. So during that developmental period, I didn't really have her like physically around. Yeah. So a lot of it was kind of I was getting advice from her while she was in a completely different country, and it helps, but she wasn't right there for me to like learn from her.
Yeah.
And I did learn so much from her, and I think it would have been valuable to maybe pay more attention, because I ignored a lot of the advice she would give me.
I mean, you're the youngest in the
Yeah,
family.
I'm the youngest and like the most annoying, so I was just like, whatever.
But most responsible as well. When you need to be.
When I need to be.
And when you're away, it's most like, I mean, it's guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
Well, speaking on the topic of visuals, there comes fetishization versus genuine attraction.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience some sort of differences when being approached by,
Oh my gosh.
different communities?
Rarely ever do I get approached by Korean men. And I've been told it's for various different reasons. I don't want to be approached by men, so it's fine. But,
A win for the women. I'm cutting that out.
Like various reasons, people say I'm can be intimidating. I do have a strong RBF, and I'm very well aware of that. So, but when they do come up to me, it's more of, oh my gosh, you speak Korean. And then they find out I'm mixed, and then it actually turns into more of a genuine conversation. Especially this new generation, or like my generation, have a genuine curiosity for it, and it's less upsetting because I understand why it's interesting. I look pretty white, and I speak fluent Korean. On top of that, I speak fluent Korean with a Busan dialect, which is just not something you see happen very often. And so I understand why they're like, what the hell is going on with this thing? Whereas when men of other races, other cultures approach me, it's immediately like, are you a Wasian baddie? Are you a Wasian shawty? And it's like, am I a what?
ABG?
Am I a what? And it's just like, you're immediately reducing my identity to that part of myself, number one. Yeah, I think the fetishization usually comes from more so like white men. Yeah. Who are in Korea, because they see me and they're like, this is an opportunity for me to have a Korean.
The best of both worlds.
Yes, exactly. And I'm so much more than that as an individual, I would like to believe. So when it becomes reduced into this little thing, it feels so demeaning. Yeah.
And, there also comes into the fact of, like, they kind of just project themselves onto you the entire time. There's no meaning for, like, a grounded relationship. That's why nobody wants to date foreigners.
Yeah, if you're approaching me simply because of my ethnicity, because you have a weird fetish for mixed people, I'm nothing more to you beyond being Wasian. And so why would I ever be interested in developing a connection with you? If the connection comes first, and then you reveal to me after you have a type or like an affinity for Wasians or Asian girls or whatever, then it's like, okay, well, everyone has a type.
Yeah.
But then if it's the first thing you're looking at, the only reason you're attracted to me from the jump is because I'm Wasian, it's a little bit
off-putting.
Yes.
Yeah. You're Korean and you're Danish.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask, where do you feel like more homely at?
I think just by nature of growing up in Korea, I do feel like Korea is probably closer to home than anything.
Yeah.
But there are moments where I still refer to Denmark as home.
Of course.
And so I'll be like, I miss home. And I'll be talking about Denmark. And sometimes I'll be in Denmark or in America, and I'll be like, I miss home, and I'll be talking about Korea. It really depends on the day. But when I think of home, it's Busan, like my parents' apartment in Busan. And so I think culturally, I feel closer to being Korean. I've been around this culture way more. I just feel a lot more grounded when I'm in Korea. Korean food is what I seek when I'm homesick. But still, Denmark is still home. I don't think I feel as connected to it because I didn't grow up there.
And you grew up for the most part in Busan.
Yes.
So that's why. I think that is the basis of where you're from.
Yeah. And I mean, with any third culture kid, you ask them, you get it, is like, where are you from? And you kind of start glitching, and you're like, I don't know how to answer this question. So Depends on how I'm feeling that day.
Valid.
Yeah.
Okay. And you recently graduated last year.
Yes.
You're working now.
Yes.
She's also my boss. Have I mentioned that? I can't believe this. Okay. You're 20
2.
and she's already working. She's full-time employed. Can you take us over the transition of like being a student to a working person now? How is that feeling?
Yeah. I, going through college, worked every semester of college. So I went to college for 3 years. And every semester that I was in college, I was working part-time. Mainly because I like to shop. So I needed a means to support shopping.
Okay.
And being with my friends and things like that. So I already had the experience of balancing the two things. And I was really lucky and fortunate to work with really great people. I did a couple of internships throughout college as well. And I remember when I got to graduating and our office
Yeah.
came up to me and they said, hey, we have this job opening. And I was an intern there at the time. And they said, we have this job opening in the fall after you graduate. Would you be interested in applying for it? And at first I thought to myself, no, this isn't what I want. This is not the dream job. You know, I want to move away from this country. I want to get out of here. And then I started thinking about the pros of it. And I also had this really weird feeling when I graduated of I had worked so hard in school to be working part-time every semester. I was taking 18 credits every semester, you know. And I remember when I graduated, I felt so empty. You know, you would think that you feel this overwhelming sense of joy and pride.
Accomplishment.
Yeah. And I remember as soon as I got off the stage, I was like, okay.
Now what?
Now what? And I was moving back in with my parents. And it just felt like almost like I was regressing. Because I felt like I had done all this work to graduate, and now I'm back at the same point I was at before I even went to college. Jobless, living with my family, as much as I love my family, but living with my family, and, you know, I felt like, what is my direction? I was just so scared that I had no direction in life, and I knew the one thing I loved was being a part of the community in college, and I felt so much joy from that. And I was like, okay, well, I have an opportunity to capitalize off of that, so why wouldn't I? And so going through that application process, I think and I hope what stood out was my honesty, is because I talked a lot about, they say don't bring your personal emotions into job interviews, but I talked a lot about how much I cared for the community that I was a part of.
Yeah.
And how important they were to me, and I think that perspective and how I would apply that to the work. And I got the job, and it was really hard at first because suddenly the interns I was working side by side with are now my interns.
Yeah.
And the office that my boss worked at is now my office. And it was just, I had such imposter syndrome. I was like, this is not my place. Like, I do not belong here. I do not know how any of this works and operates. One weekend, and I was like, I'm quitting. I can't do this. And then just working with the students for the first time when I started, I was like, oh, like this is why I'm here. And I just have so much like care for them. And at the end of the day, whatever happens professionally, why I'm there is because I cared for that community. Yeah. So I think I'm really lucky to have that to hold on to, because a lot of people have a job and they don't have the passion and the care that, you know, that exists. So they don't have an anchor. But when I have a bad day or when I'm really, really stressed, like these past few weeks at work, I have an anchor and to remind me of like what my purpose is here. I also have a contract that ends. So I know I'm working towards something.
Yeah.
Rather than like, oh my God, I'm gonna be here forever. I'm like, well, I know when I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So might as well make the most of the time there. And honestly, I think that has been really helpful.
So what was your degree exactly? Because I feel like you're very, as much as you're a social butterfly, you're community driven, that means you're a people's person. Is that what you're trying to get into? Like psychology, sociology?
So my major was conflict analysis and resolution with a concentration in political and social action. And I want to go into research in sociology. I'm just really interested in how people operate. People are so interesting to me.
I know.
And so, yeah, I do feel a lot of working with community is very important to me, but also with conflict analysis, it's a lot of fixing things. You know, you learn how to, when things come up, to fix them. And I think the nature of my job is there's a lot of conflict and emotions that are involved in being a student, and to help regulate that is a big part of it. So I think that's why.
I think you can be really diplomatic. Like when the first time I heard about Sena actually was from my friends. And they were like, oh, there's Sena, and she's really cool, she's really nice, she's really sweet. When I saw you, you were like stressing the hell out the first time. I mean, now listening back, 18 credits, working full time, I can see why there was so much of a stressful, like, I don't know, maybe that day you were just stressed. I was like, oh, Sena, okay, she seems like a badass. Because, you know, when someone who is taking up so much load is like going through it, you know that they're onto something. So yeah, I was like, she's such a cool person, because I also approached her for like an interview for a student club, and you agreed to it. It was about transracialism.
Yeah.
You remember?
I do.
And she gave such a bomb-ass answer. I was just left there like,
Oh my
hella smart.
Thank you. That's so
Those
sweet.
were my first impressions.
I didn't know that. This is your first time telling me that.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my goodness. Look at us.
But she was already pretty popular before you even got to know her, so you know that she's that type of a person. What I think is you have such a drive for the things you want to do, and that's quite infectious to the people around you. And she looks after people really, really well. So I can see why you were like kind of community-driven, student-oriented. So I'm sure that interview was like killer.
I mean, yeah, the mother label.
Yeah, it's there. It's very much present.
And I think that existed my whole life. Like even in high school, I was the mom friend.
Yeah.
And in college, you know, the students, my friends, they, you know, I'm the mom friend, and then my students now refer to me as mother.
Mother.
So Renee walks in. Oh, a student walks in.
and Renee is like, did you just name drop me?
She walks into the office and she's like, mother.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
She does. I'm always hearing mother from the other room.
Yeah. And I honestly, although it's a funny label, the fact that people can trust me, I think means a lot to me, because I don't want to, because I think I come across as very, like you said, or no, not you didn't say, but I can come off as very cold, first impression wise.
You mentioned
yeah,
it.
because I'm very focused on what I'm doing, and I have been told by some students that they were scared to approach me, especially compared to like my coworkers.
Yeah.
And so to know that the people who do know me feel that sense of comfort and that sense of I can go to her with my problems and whatnot, that really means a lot to me.
When you were talking about like looking upon like the K-pop industry, wondering if you wanted to like plastic surgeries or like makeup styles, fashion.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Somi.
Yeah.
So I feel like that must have been a reference for you growing up as well.
She was one of the only, at the time, at my middle school, high school years, mixed celebrities in Korea. Now there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot more. They're almost sought after in a weird, fetishy way. But at that time, it was only Somi and Vernon from 17. And they are incredibly perfect-looking people. They're beautiful people, and you know, perfect, especially Somi is like the perfect body type, like the ideal Korean body type. She's so thin, not in a negative way, but she is just the ideal. And I was not growing up, and it was really hard for me to only have her to refer to as like a mixed person. Being the only mixed celebrity I really knew of was like, okay, well now I have to reach that level of being mixed. Like I have to be that level of pretty and that level of skinny. And it's just, even if we're both mixed, we're genetically from like two different countries, and like it just doesn't necessarily mean that we can be the same way. And I don't think I recognized that is because she was the only mixed celebrity I could look at. So I was like, I gotta be like her.
That's a really interesting thought because how can I put this? Growing up, we always have a certain point of reference.
Mm-hmm.
But for the really niche category of kids,
Yeah.
it's difficult. And you're put into different social groups as well. So maybe for you, like as a Korean who's mixed, Koreans would be looking upon like other Korean idols. That's valid. But then to be looking at a niche aspect of like mixed idols and that being rare.
Yeah. And even now, even though there are more, they still fit into that like perfect mold of what a mixed person
That's
looks
K-pop.
like. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's K-pop. And I remember like To All the Boys.
Oh, Laura?
Yeah. She's supposed to be mixed. And they casted an actress who's fully Asian, which is like, I love that there's more Asian representation on TV. But for me, I was like, I was kind of excited to see myself.
And then there's the younger sister who looks mixed.
Yeah. So because I read those books and it was so exciting for me because I was finally reading a book where the girl was mixed like I was, and specifically Korean mixed. And then, for the movie, she was not casted in that way. And so while I was really happy for the Asian representation, there was a little bit of like, I was so excited.
Yeah.
So excited to see my story kind of shown. And they took out a lot of her experience with her identity as well, which I feel like was a little disappointing. But
Yeah, because most of the plot line was centered around...
Peter Kavinsky. I mean, valid.
Yeah, I mean, the chemistry was good.
Yes, I mean, it's a great movie. I still watch it all the time. But
Thinking about, like, have you ever gotten, like, celebrity references?
like people tell me.
Who do you look alike?
I get the weirdest ones. I think because I'm mixed and people can't put me in a category, they don't know what to tell me.
What do you get?
I've gotten, and I don't agree with any of these, I've gotten Sandra Bullock. Miss Congeniality.
Okay.
Sandra Bullock.
Huh? Like the one from Ocean's 8, right?
Yes. Zendaya.
Yeah. What?
Exactly. I don't agree.
Sandra Bullock, I see.
I don't know.
I see.
But again, like, I think people are like Zendaya because she's also just like a biracial person.
Yeah.
So they're like,
yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe it's my mannerisms.
Angles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, again, do not agree with any of these.
But now that I said Somi, that was
Yeah.
because it was in my head that you kind of,
Yeah.
in some ways, resemble.
Yeah,
Some
and
ways.
I think, like, to be honest, I think a lot of Asian people do kind of
resemble.
each other. And that's because we're all Asian. So, there are similarities.
And what's more difficult is that when you're in a minority group and they have people that they can look up to versus not you,
Yeah.
it makes it so difficult because everyone's trying to fit you into a mold, but you're not fitting that mold at all. Well, personality-wise, you're like that.
Yeah. There wasn't a mold that existed for people like me.
Yeah.
How are you going to put me into a mold, but there's no mold? Like, what are you talking about? I have nothing to fit into. There's nobody for me to refer to.
That's all right.
And even in my family, the only person that gets it is my sister. But she also has a completely different perspective.
No, like, because everyone right now, sorry to cut you off, everyone right now goes, now because Blackpink twice came into the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aku, you kind of resemble that member.
Yeah.
That person, because now they know they're mainstream. But back then, they wouldn't even know an Asian actor's name. Like, they can't put the...
Yeah.
It's difficult.
I think now there's more Asian people
as well.
Yeah, and so there are more pop culture references like now that people tell me I look like. And again, I'm like, I don't really look like them. They're just Asian.
Yeah.
So you're just picking out whatever Asian and being like, that's you. Like that. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna hop into a game. It's Would You Rather Work Edition.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So I have a couple of questions. Would you rather be underpaid at a job you love or overpaid at a job you hate?
Who's to say I'm not already the first one?
Yeah, so true.
I would rather be overpaid.
Overpaid?
Yeah.
Yeah, like money.
Money does matter.
Money matters.
I'm sorry, money does matter.
Money talks.
Yeah, like at least, even though I hate it, at least I'm getting something out of it.
Exactly.
I love my job, but
She loves her job. You listen to her.
I love my job.
I don't know, Lord. I don't know who's the high. Oh, and hey, hey. Would you rather work remotely forever or work in an office forever?
Remotely.
I know.
Yeah. 22 sitting in an office desk chair for 9 hours a day.
That's so funny because now I remember you like just walking around the office.
I walk around. I take walks during work. I walk around the building whenever I can because my body's just not made for sitting down for that long. And my back hurts so bad.
I bet.
Yeah. And also I love to travel, and traveling is so valuable to me. So working remote would give me much more opportunity to travel. So.
Okay. Would you rather redo your university life knowing what you know now or just skip straight into the working life?
Ooh. I don't think I'd redo. No. I think I would skip. There are moments where I think, oh my gosh, I miss, X thing from college so much. And all of my friends are still in college. So it's kind of hard. Yeah. It's kind of hard because there's so many discrepancies between my life and their life that they don't yet understand, which is understandable because they haven't had the experience. But at the end of the day, I don't think I would repeat college.
I don't think anyone wants to.
Yeah.
There's that debate that, like, is college really necessary or what? Because right now, you can't even get, like, a janitor position without a college degree.
Yeah.
You guys, capitalism. Don't capitalize education. Anyways, we're here for a very special topic that I wanted to discuss. And see, we're talking about uni, we're talking about work, we're talking about life, we're talking about being in your 20s. Relationships are the biggest highlight of that period, especially in uni, right? You want to be like, I don't know, if you've never dated in high school, then you're like, oh my God, I hope I find a boyfriend or a girlfriend in college. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this is definitely not public yet. But I know you recently went through a breakup. Mm-hmm. And I think our freshmen or anyone who's in uni wants to know what it's like being in a relationship and graduating and going over the course of being in a relationship and after the breakup. Do you want to break it down for them?
Yeah. My breakup, it's been a while now. It'll be a year soon. And
not me smiling.
I got into a relationship with somebody my second week of college. So somebody I'd known for 2 weeks.
So it was right in college.
Yes.
Like, oh, shoot.
Like pretty much immediately into my college career, I got into a relationship. And I am very much an all or nothing type of person. Like, I don't like to do friendships and relationships romantically. I don't like to do them halfway because I don't want to waste my time. And so I was all in from the jump. And it started off really great. And then we had to do long distance for a while. And long distance is just difficult. And then I think just over time, things faded. There was some resentment based on, certain things that had happened. And at the end, I think it was a very necessary breakup. I don't think either of us were gaining anything out of the relationship. Honestly, mentally, I think I had checked out of the relationship before it ended. I would never act upon that, but it was just difficult for me because I think it came to a point where I felt very unloved and unlovable because of the things that had happened. And 3 years we were together, from 19 years old to 22 years old. These are such developmental years of your life.
Yeah.
And I would recommend don't do that. Because I became so lost in the relationship and my identity was so fixated on this person. It was, I have to leave any kind of function early to go FaceTime this person. I can't hang out with people on weekends because like I would rather be in bed talking to this person. So I'm isolating myself. I'm isolating myself from my community, and my drive to, you know, do work and things like that were lessened because, well, I want to do things with this person instead. And especially because I think it was the years of 19 to 22, and I was still really, I didn't know who I was when I started college. I barely know who I am now.
Yeah.
I mean, I like myself a lot more than I did when I was 19, but you just get so lost in it because here's somebody who likes you for who you are, but you don't even fucking know who you are. Yeah. And so much of me was based on him. And I got to a point when I was in America for my study abroad, and I realized, okay, like, I can be in this relationship and learn about myself. So I started taking the steps to do that. And I became very comfortable with myself and learned about myself a lot during that year I was in America. And I don't know if he didn't like that I suddenly had a sense of self and a sense of purpose beyond being with him. But when I got back to Korea, there was just nothing. Like, it was almost like he didn't care what I did, where I did it, who I did it with.
So your change essentially triggered him.
That's how it felt.
Okay.
Like, obviously, there's two sides to every story. And there was a lot more, you know, long distance again, different things like that. But the detachment that I felt
was quick.
Yeah. And I valued myself a lot more as a human than I did when I was 19, to recognize that this person did not value me enough. And that was not the energy I wanted to waste my time on, nor spend the rest of my life with.
Right.
Especially because it was a time, like 22.
That's exactly my next question. How do you, I felt like just hearing your story about your breakup was like your self-discovery as well, but also a huge topic of self-respect. And I think that's something that people during that period can lose really easily if they're gullible or if they don't have a great amount of self-esteem. So how does one draw the line? Because if I'm being honest with all of these attachment issues that we call it, sometimes it's really hard to, you know, navigate what you really are. And I just want to know, how do you decide what are the non-negotiables? And when do you really just stand up for yourself?
I had to really dive back into my like roots of what are my passions? What do I care about? You know, before I even think about me, what external things mattered to me? Because I forgot about all of those things. I stopped playing instruments. I've grown up my whole life playing instruments. I almost went to performing arts school. I stopped playing instruments. I stopped doing my hobbies. I stopped caring about the things that I cared about because all I cared about was this person, which is so unhealthy, you know? And so I had to take a step back and think about what's important to me, even if it's little things. Like, I love movies. I love film, which is why I wanted to go to acting school. And I was like, okay, well, I love film, and I haven't been able to kind of express that love in a long time, so I downloaded, like, Letterboxd. You know, just, like, little things that don't seem very significant, but just making it a part of my day-to-day routine to do things that matter to me.
For yourself?
Yes, instead of for him.
Okay.
And then rediscovering kind of what are my ambitions, and can I reach, it was like a slap in the face for me when I was like, well, you're not going to reach these ambitions without knowing who you are and caring about yourself. I think the last straw for me was my college graduation. My ex-boyfriend was not present at my college graduation. And for a variety of reasons, but just that whole like series of events led to me being like,
set the trigger.
My sister and her fiance flew in from Denmark to be at my graduation. You know, it made me realize if I really mattered to people, they would make the time. And I should also be making the time for myself. And I was doing a lot of things that were self-destructive, drinking a lot and partying a lot, which is still fun, still fine. But if you're only doing it for the purpose of, I want to forget. So I started doing those things for different purposes. I started doing those things with my group of friends who are like my anchor. they're like having that support system, having people who showed me that I was lovable was so significant.
Yeah.
And it changed my perspective, and I got so lucky because like my best friend Elle, who like everyone who knows
Hi,
me,
Elle.
hi Elle, everyone who knows me knows about her.
I know.
Yeah. And she just is such a reminder of, number one, somebody who walks through life with so much grace.
No.
And I was watching her, and she's younger than me, and she's doing all of these things. And I was like, okay, like I need to be more like that, number one. But also, she constantly reminds me of how valuable I am to her. And so to have those support systems in place, sometimes humans are social creatures.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's okay if a little bit of your self-worth is based on what the people who are important to you are saying.
Yeah.
And the people who were important to me were teaching me and showing me that I was a person who deserved respect and deserved love and compassion.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me a lot. And it helped me get closer to my family. It helped me get closer to my friends and appreciate them more. And it helped me get closer to myself.
Yeah.
And therapy. I love therapy.
I love how this went to relationships, breakups, therapy.
Therapy. Go to therapy if you can afford it. Unfortunately, it is not super accessible. And I feel very lucky to have the help that I can get. But therapy has been everything to me.
I remember one of my older sisters told me this, but when they went to therapy, couples therapy, they were like, therapy is not for only when you feel the lowest.
Yeah.
It's like a regular check-in.
Yes, I text my therapist like when I feel like something went well.
Okay.
I think that was the thing. I spent so much time focusing on all the negative things that had happened in my relationship, in whatever, in my life.
In your development process.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, what about the things that are good? Because there's a lot that's good in my life. So let's start thinking about the things that are good. And checking in with myself every single day to be like, there's at least one thing every day to be grateful for, you know? Even in the worst of the worst days, I still have my friends.
Yeah.
And I still have my family. And I still have a roof over my head. Even if these seem like the most basic of things, some people don't have that. And so practicing that gratitude, this is so therapy talk.
But one thing I have to give you, you're so eloquent, and
Oh
you're
my
so
goodness.
self-aware.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
It's so attractive,
Hey.
but it's really, really nice.
Sometimes the self-awareness is too much.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish I was less self-aware.
Okay.
I wish I could make a fool of myself a little bit.
Do you think too much self-awareness leads to a bit of like...
I worry that it makes me
too
come
much.
across as pretentious
Yeah.
at times, you know? Because I'm not trying to speak down to people or anything. I just happen to sit here and think a lot about what's going on.
Yeah.
So...
From this experience of being in a relationship for about 2 years...
3.
What's your ultimate red flag in a person now?
Insecurity.
Oh.
I, even after my breakup, I talked to people, you know.
Okay.
And because I was like, I got to put myself out there. I'm 22 and I've never just had fun. So I was talking to people, and a lot of them were younger than me. And I was like, oh my God. I can't do it. I need somebody with drive. If you don't have, you know, a place in this world, look for your place in this world. Have passion for the things that you do. Whether, that doesn't have to be a job, but at least have passion for your hobbies, things like that. I think people who are unmotivated is really unattractive to me because I have set really strict goals for myself.
You seem like an achiever, like someone who's ambitious and achieving,
which is
so
like,
you want this.
I think it's good to have a balance between having fun and being ambitious. I'm not somebody who sits there and like says you have to do the work 24/7. I actually always tell my students like human beings aren't made to run 24/7. We're not machines.
And you did say that once.
And even machines turn off.
Yeah.
So, I think just that insecurity in the sense of when they push it upon other people. Like, why are you making your insecurity my issue? because you can't achieve certain things.
It's unattractive.
It's so unattractive. And also just respect. I think I went a long time without feeling respected.
Any messages you want to give to those who feel stuck in their relationship and probably want out for self-development?
You're too hot for that.
You're too hot for
You're
that.
too hot for
You're
that.
too hot for that. Shh.
You are young. You should be shaking your ass on a yacht in Dubai.
In Dubai.
I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you love someone, you just, you want to believe that there's hope. And
that's what you're used to.
I think celebrate that it's a beautiful thing that you're willing to have hope.
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of missing sometimes in this world. But also redirect that hope into a more positive life for yourself and not just for that person. Because you are just as deserving as your partner or whoever of a good and happy life. And
I'm glad you put yourself first.
yeah, me too.
I'm so glad.
Me too.
Some breakups save you.
Yeah, I think I know myself so much more.
No.
And I am so much more in tune with who I am in a way that I have never been before. And it's still a work in progress. I still have moments where I'm like, what the hell did I do?
Yeah.
But just having the baseline respect for myself that hasn't existed.
In a while.
Yeah.
Didn't you feel like you found yourself again?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice. I talked to my therapist about it, and I was like, I feel like I'm now someone my younger self would feel comfortable around.
Welcome back, Serenity.
Welcome back, Serenity. Yeah, and again, like I said, I have such wonderful support systems that remind me of who I am.
Mm.
And yeah, that's been really special. And I think that makes developing any other relationships healthier.
Wise words. What did I say? You guys took a lot out of this. She's smart. Okay, we're going to play a final game before we wrap it up.
Yes.
It's called Toxic or Acceptable.
Ooh.
They like all your Instagram stories, but they never text you first.
Acceptable, because sometimes I don't want you in my DMs either.
She's secured like that. One breakup and she's secure attachment. Okay. They tell you that they're bad at emotions.
Toxic. Because if you're self-aware that you're bad at emotions, work on it. Put in the work.
Ooh,
Like,
clock that.
I'm not impressed of your self-awareness. I'll be impressed when you take the steps to fix it.
I feel like that cough was just waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, they ask if you're talking to other people, but don't claim you.
Toxic.
Yeah,
So toxic.
you guys.
Because I love when people are like, you're mine.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, like, because I think I take a lot of responsibility on in my professional life. In my personal life, I'd like to be a princess too. You know, just because like I'm put in a lot of work and time and like professionalism into what I do doesn't mean that at the end of the day I don't want to also be taken care of.
But that does not give you the upper hand for dominance.
Yes.
And no taking advantage. Says they're not a planner.
Acceptable.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
a huge planner.
So you like leading?
Yeah, and
Okay.
so sometimes when they're not a planner, that's better for me because I get to choose whatever we do.
Perfect.
But I also I need feedback.
Okay.
I can't do if I plan things and you're like, yeah, whatever's fine.
You need to leave a review.
Yeah. Be like, okay, yes, that's perfect. Thank you so much for doing this for us. You know? Like I can't
Okay.
just have yeah, whatever's fine.
Okay.
I hate the nonchalance epidemic.
No more chill, guys.
Get all nonchalant men off this earth right now.
It's not working.
Right now.
Okay, last one. They miss your major life event but post stories at a party. Did that happen?
Hey.
Hey.
Toxic. Like I said, if you care about someone, you make the time.
You'll put in the work.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the final last question. It's not a part of the game.
Okay.
But what's your biggest if I knew then what I know right now moment?
Ooh. Ooh, that's so much has happened in my life in the 4 years, like 3 years of college and post-college. I am at a point now where things are very much good in my life.
Yeah.
I wish specifically I could go back. I think my college self needed the life lessons. I wish I could go back to like my freshman year of high school and just tell her that it's not that deep.
It's not that deep.
It's not that deep.
It's never.
And that how I look and like we talked about my identity and my ethnicity and all of these things are very, important parts of my life, but there's so much more. I would tell her to look outside.
Yeah.
I would tell her to look outside at the world and find something to be grateful for.
Yeah.
Because it was just always just worries and concerns. And that it's a really special life that I've led. I feel really, really lucky to have the experiences that I've had. And there's more to life than how much you weigh and whether your nose is too big and whether the clothes fit you just right or if somebody doesn't like you because you're not Asian enough. There's more to life. And I would tell her that a lot of good is coming.
It's on its way.
Yeah.
Be patient.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, guys. I really mostly when I have guests who are my friends, they're like, I'm not an influencer. I'm not nothing. Why are you calling me? This is essentially why, because we need a reality check. There is so much layers to people. And I feel like everyone I encounter or like have this sort of chit-chat session, but in like somewhat of a professional manner, there's always something to take away. And I'm so glad I got you on here because you dropped so much wisdom in like
goodness.
less than 45 minutes for these people.
I'm so scared that people are gonna be like, wow, she thinks she knows so much. No, I'm still learning.
You're learning.
We're all learning. My high school teacher used to tell me that we're all lifelong learners.
Lifelong, exactly.
Yes. So that's my mindset. This is just for me. This is what I know for me. Yeah. And I'm still learning and growing.
Yeah. So I like some part of my inner child is healed when I sit with you. So thank you so much
sweet.
for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'll see you at work tomorrow.
Oh God, it's Monday. Oh my God. You see, we'd had the longest week.
Yeah.
Especially Sena, because she had to plan everything. I was there like assisting, obviously, but like...
It's been a long week, so...
The work went into the weekend.
Yes. We worked yesterday.
We did.
We worked yesterday.
It's okay, I don't want to remember it.
It's okay. But yeah, see you in the office tomorrow.
See you in the office tomorrow, Sena.
Perfect.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for coming on to this episode. See you on the next one. I love you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Yay! Good job. That was so good.